Hello everyone, it's time for another part of playthrough from Gran Turismo 4, and today, finally, I can start winning races, various events from Beginners League, because I got through all license tests, difficult missions, afforded just enough cars to finally start the career mode. So it's time to pick out the first car that would be used in Sunday Cup, because like in any other Gran Turismo game, Sunday Cup is the first event. So I acquired 20 cars, and I can honestly say if I would have sports tires equipped for any car on this list, I might as well pass Sunday Cup behind the wheel of Nissan R89C. But for this particular first event, I want to take this DMC DeLorean S2 from 2004, so it is a modified edition. And honestly, despite the fact that Sunday Cup is the most basic event, I can still buy a few upgrades, because honestly, I could just pass those events a bit faster. You know, it's all about the basics. Let's buy a racing muffler, decrease the weight of this DMC DeLorean. Let's see. Why not? Computer chip might be useful. And I guess that's it. Alright, so here is Beginner Hall. Finally, I can take part in various events. I have Sunday Cup, few Drivetrain events, Lightweight K-Car Cup, Spiders and Roadsters, and the final event, Sports Trucks race. So in this particular episode, I will pass Sunday Cup and those Drivetrain events. So this is a long episode after passing all those license tests and missions. The prize is not a very big one, but this is the most basic event. We have short tracks, you know, high speed ring like in Gran Turismo 1, but beside of that, on-touring mini, beginner's course, and all of that other stuff. So let's begin. Alright, so the first race is on Tonic Mini, reversed, only 2 laps, which is interesting. And we have basic cars, compacts. So for Sunday Cup, it is a good choice to pick out the DMC DeLorean, because honestly, I have a feeling that this car is fast enough to just pass this event much faster. Because honestly, despite the fact that starting grid is mostly a set of compacts and sometimes family cars, really slow family cars, as you can see, I can easily just pass through all opponents and drive fast enough and finish this race. After that, another one and another one, till I pass this event and afford a prize car. Also, I have a good soundtrack, so it's not a big problem for me. Also, someone might actually ask me, because I don't doubt someone would ask me, why did you pick the Korean version of Gran Turismo 4? First off, because I wanted to. Secondly, because Korean and Chinese press copy were specific, because they had few bonus cars that were not available in any other versions. Sure, I don't have this iconic Mini Cooper from, Rover Mini Cooper, but still, I got a bunch of other bonus cars. So, I thought, why not? Let's pick out this Korean version. Alright, so the first race is over. Also, I had a feeling that Korean version is just an early one, so I suppose there are not any big problems with cars like in American version and European version. So, second race is beginner's course, the track that was famous because it was available in Gran Turismo 4 Prologue for driving tests. But here in Gran Turismo 4, this short track with chicane is normally available to race on. Interesting, because this is probably the smallest test track ever made in Gran Turismo by that time. I'm not sure about Gran Turismo 6, honestly, but I have a feeling that the only short tracks that are much shorter than beginner's course are circle courses in Tourist Trophy, Gran Turismo 2 and Gran Turismo 3. As you can see, just like on Tonic Mini, I passed all opponents easily, and I can just drive fast enough to win this particular race. Surely, beginner's course is a small track with two long corners, sections that are supposed to be I don't know how to say this. It's about knowing speed limits, and chicane is here because that bonus variant from Gran Turismo 4 Prologue was out of question. So simple. Or simply they just didn't bother with this version. But it's actually interesting that a track course, beginner's course, made just for license tests in Gran Turismo 4 Prologue, in Gran Turismo 4 is a normally obtainable track for races, not for time trials. So the second race is over. After this I have a bit longer challenge because the next track would be High Speed Ring. But as you can see, this race took less than 2 minutes, 4 laps. That's interesting. So another 600 credits. Alright, so it's time for the third race, High Speed Ring. 2 laps, but this particular track would be much longer. So let's see how this works out. Alright, so right now I have compact cars, even Honda Ballad Sports CRX, but also here is Fiat Barchetta or Barchetta. Fiat Barchetta. So I can just overtake all of those opponents and drive as fast as I can. It is actually interesting that I can easily drive over 200 kilometers in first event with barely modified DMC DeLorean. But it's a nice catch. That means those cars are fast enough. However, I can also say that Gran Turismo 4 have completely different physics than in Gran Turismo 3. One thing I am curious about is how later on with those extreme events, how for example like the wind in Gran Turismo 4 would play out, because there is a weather glitch in Gran Turismo 4, but it works completely. It is completely different than in Gran Turismo 2 and Gran Turismo 3. The final lap. This particular lap through around high-speed ring took me already 1.5 minute. So this is probably the longest race in this whole event. But as you can see, high-speed ring is a basic track like in Gran Turismo 1, possibly even Gran Turismo 2. I don't remember correctly, because the last time I played Gran Turismo 2, discounting the playthrough, was probably a year ago, because honestly I picked out some arcade races for about making a few test drives because I was bored, but I don't even remember a few of the playthroughs I've made. I have so much to do through those months, also in my private life, so you know, always running, always doing something. Luckily, finally we have a spring, so there is a possibility to spend some quality time, despite obvious problems here in Eastern Europe. So, I took care of this third track, and the results are nice. Made it in less than 3 minutes. So, after High Speed Ring, the iconic track from Gran Turismo series, it's time for another iconic track, or course, or circuit. So, it's time to go from High Speed Ring to Road 5, but the Clubman section. So, right now I have 2 laps around reversed Clubman Stage Road 5. Again, we have a nice set of roadsters and compacts, even iconic Daihatsu Storia X4. One of my favorite cars, to be honest, because Storia X4 is actually one of the slowest, at least in Gran Turismo 3, one of the slowest 4-wheel drive train cars. I mean, yeah. But Storia X4 have good acceleration, much better than Auto Works, not because of power output, but because of also of torque output. So, you know, it's a nice car. I might as well buy that Storia X4, if not for those prices for gold times, because I am not a rookie like I was 10 or 15 years ago. Okay, this race was a bit difficult, judging by the fact that it took a bit longer to pass through all opponents. But I guess that's the thing about Route 5, because it is a twisty track, despite the Clubman section being a shorter and simpler one. You still need to calculate your speed limits for each corner, because those roads are a bit tighter than in Gran Turismo 3. And of course, driving physics also are different. Right now I am driving cautiously because I don't want to crash into walls, despite the fact that there is no damage system. Still, it's not really professional to perform wall riding and all of other stuff. And it's done. Alright, so after Route 5, the last track that is left is Turing Motegi. That would be an interesting challenge. Let's see. The final race on Sunday Cup. 3 laps around Turing Motegi West section. Interesting. And we have the final race on Sunday Cup. We even have Volkswagen Polo GTI, Mazda Yunus Roadster, my favorite edition from 1989, and here is even Mini Cooper. Perfect. So 3 laps around a fast and short, I might say even a go-kart track, despite the fact that Motegi has its own go-kart track. The north section is the go-kart track. In GT Concept there was a concept for Motegi South, which is a parking area, which Polyphony used for testing out all cars for Gran Turismo 3 and 4, and of course Turing. That means oval track and this road course. Despite the fact that I was never a big fan of this, I might say it looks like a sunset weather rather than sunshine. From what I remember, the weather was supposed to be, the type of day and the weather was supposed to be like on Super Speedway in GT4, this oval track. So it was supposed to be set at daytime, judging also by the fact that in beta versions of this track from Gran Turismo Concept and Gran Turismo 4 Prologue, it was daytime instead of sunset. Alright, so I took care of it. The final race from Sunday Cup is actually done with nice results. So I can say that Sunday Cup is another great event in Gran Turismo. However, the next events would be much more difficult than in Gran Turismo 3, for example, because those drivetrain events actually have faster cars, like in Pro League from GT3. So in FF Challenge, I think that cars like Mitsubishi FTO and Toyota Corolla might be more useful. The price car I acquired is Lancia Y10, but this is actually an Auto Bianchi and Abarth edition. Auto Bianchi a 112 Abarth. And I also unlocked another circuit, that means Fuji Speedway 2005 GT edition. Interesting. So now it's time for FF Challenge. For this particular challenge, I think I should use a car like... I have Pontiac Sunfire, but I also think that Mazda Husabi is a good choice. So let's buy some upgrades, change the oil also, because it's all about the power output. Those cars in Gran Turismo 4 are much heavier because those drivetrain physics are a bit different, like in, for example, GT Concept Lupo Training version from 2003. Back then they already thought about making those GT4 physics. So now it's time to buy upgrades. I can't buy turbo kits, but I can honestly care less about that, because all I need is a small NA tune-up, stage 2, stage 1. So let's buy stage 3 now. I don't know which one to pick. Stage 2. Racing chip is very important, but I'm still not sure about those NA tune-ups. Let's buy stage 1. Eventually I'll buy some nitrous for a better power output on straight lines. So let's check it out. Also, let's check out how we can dispose of useless weight. Alright. And also let's check out, just in case I can buy another set of tires, but I still need standard and sports tires, so don't care about that so much. Here is FF Challenge. And this particular challenge is a bit more difficult. 2 laps around reversed midfield, 3 around Suzuka East, then Hong Kong, Grand Valley East, and Twining Motegi East. So this particular event could take more time, but it also is a bit more difficult because of faster cars. As you can see, starting grid, we have Renault Avantime, Honda Prelude Type S. So those events are actually similar to Pro League from Gran Turismo 3, and I just want to point out, this is beginner hall in Gran Turismo 4. So yeah, those events are much more difficult. But at least Polyphony Digital would not have to make few additions for each league. So I have Mazda Kusabi with nitrous upgrades, and I need to drive fast. 2 laps around reversed midfield raceway with fast front-wheel drive cars. And also I need to point out, yes, driving physics in those cars is a bit more realistic, but also strange. Perfect. Yeah, that's what I thought about those cars. Driving fast on specific corners and sections would be a bit more difficult, to be honest. So as you can see, this Mazda Kusabi is actually a good car for this event. Despite the fact that I am racing with Renault Avantime and all other fast front-wheel drive cars, with those upgrades, it is actually an easy event. That's interesting. And it's done. First race in FF Challenge. And this time I got 1,500 of credits instead of just 600 for each race. So, as you can see, more difficult events pay more money. Now it's time for second race through Suzuka Circuit East section. 3 laps. And this time I have even Alfa Romeo 166 with V6 engine and Toyota Celica ST202. So those particular cars have somewhere about 200 horsepower each. Just like, for example, Nissan Primera and Honda Prelude. So as you can see, it is an interesting event, judging by this fact alone. That is a simple race. Throughout those 3 laps again, I outrun from my opponents by, I don't even know, 15 or 20 seconds. Alright. Another 1,500, and it's time for another race. Race number 3 that will take place on iconic Hong Kong street circuit. So we have reversed version of Hong Kong circuit, one of my favorites from Gran Turismo 4. Right now this race would be a bit difficult because I have again Fiat Barchetta, but here is also Opel Vectra, also with a V6 engine, so I guess this ain't checkers. What I personally like very much about this particular circuit is the fact that it actually brings out this Chinese atmosphere, you know, I mean the Hong Kong, because you have too many billboards, but also you have this beautiful coast. And if I'm not mistaken, this area was named Sim Sha Tsui, so if someone knows if it's Aberdeen or another district, let me know. I don't actually think it is even similar. There's a similar area in, for example, Sleeping Dogs or another game set in Hong Kong. But this is also why I really like this track. Type of day, dusk, and also this atmosphere. How Hong Kong is still completely different than the rest of China. Maybe besides of Shanghai, because let's be honest, that's how those cities were built those many years ago. Thanks to those upgrades and nitros, it's a bit easier to hit almost 200 kilometers, still barely, but modified Mazda Kusabi concept. Perfect. It's actually interesting also that while checking those results, Opel Vectra was the last one actually. But what can I say? There are other fast cars like Volkswagen Golf or Fiat Barchetta. So, time for another race. I have yet to pass Grand Valley East and Tuning Motegi Eastern section. And right now I have even faster cars, like Ford Taurus. If I'm not mistaken, this particular car, despite being a bit heavier, have 230 horsepower. So it is a nice challenge. I have Ford Taurus, 2 Peugeots, Renault Avantime and Opel Vectra with 3.2 V6 engine. For example, used by British police, if I'm not mistaken. So, yes, those cars are very fast. Okay, another big outrun. But that also means I can, on Grand Valley section, check out the nitrous and get almost 240 kilometers max speed. That's how I know that this Mazda Kusabi is a great car for this event. With few modifications, you don't even need a fully customizable transmission. Because the top speed is still enough to pass those events without any problems. When it comes to changing gears, it's not that much of a problem in Gran Turismo 4. And it's done. Race number 4. So the last race again takes place on Twinning Motegi, just like with Sunday Cup, but it's gonna be the eastern section. And also, just like I thought, Ford Taurus got second place. Ironically, the last place in this particular race was for Renault Avantime. Well, that's interesting. So let's finally check out what is the starting grid on Twinning Motegi East course. Nice. Alfa Romeo GTV. Again, 2 Peugeots, Fiat Coupe Turbo Plus, and Renault Megane, and here I am, driving a Japanese car, fighting with European fast cars, even Alfa Romeo equipped with V6 engine. This is a nice challenge. My favorite tuning Motegi. Not so much favorite east section, but I guess we still need some experience to perform on full road course, so I don't care that much. I can just hit nitros, get some speed and overtake all of those opponents faster, because I also have some straight sections I would like to check out with nitros. Check out again the top speed, or how fast I can go through those particular sections. As you can see, Alfa Romeo GTV is not the slowest car in this event, so this race is easy enough for me, but if I could make a big mistake, it's game over. I would be overtook without any problems. The final lap. Only one lap and I'm done with this FF challenge. I still have 3 more events to win. Alright, so I finally took care of all races in FF Challenge. Now it's time to take the prize car home and check out what vehicle I could choose for the next event. Another 1500 credits for me. And let's see the prize car. And the prize car for FF Challenge is Mazda Tenza Concept edition from 2001, but it is a fast car. Could be useful for at least one event later on, but not for now. Alright, so the next event is F4 Challenge. I need to take a great car for this particular event, so let's see the list. I have, for example, Pontiac Solstice. I have also Mazda RX-8, Jensen Interceptor Mark III, Brin's blue color. Alright, despite this car being from 1974, because this is a third edition of Interceptor, it might be an interesting idea. This car is fast enough, and any steering problems could just be solved with a bit of a suspension upgrade, for example, and sports brakes. So let's give it a try. First of all, dispose of useless wave, because this car is heavy enough. Let's make full use of this V8 engine with help of disposing useless wave, buying racing muffler and air cleaner, and there is even a possibility. No, stage tune-ups aren't actually my best option over here. I guess that racing chip is enough. I could actually buy supercharger, but I don't care so much about that, so let's just buy sports brakes, maybe a few suspension upgrades, and it's good. I might as well just take part in this FR challenge and win it easily. Alright, so let's just buy a few upgrades, like triple plate clutch, because changing gears faster is a good thing in those muscle cars. I have sports brakes. The problems with suspension aren't so bad, so let's just check it out. Let's see. Or challenge. Another drivetrain event. 2 laps around Seattle, 3 laps at Tsukuba, then Special Station 5, Laguna Seca and Motorland. Interesting. Alright, so we have a nice set of opponents in our challenge. Because we have Nissan Sylphy and also Mercedes SL500. And I'm driving behind the wheel of Jensen Interceptor from the 70s. This would be an interesting challenge, honestly. So I have 2 laps around reversed Seattle circuit. Again, just like with previous events, I tuned up this car just enough to overtake all opponents easily, and thanks to this, win all those races without any problems. Piece of cake. Final lap. I guess despite all those fast cars, those challenges, I mean the starting grid, I have a feeling that beginner hall either have programmed AI to be much slower, or it is actually as obvious in various games. That is the rubber banding. The most hated feature that actually makes many racing games much easier to program, because if you can't make a proper artificial intelligence for various races, challenges and such, you can as well just make those races sometimes easier, sometimes harder, thanks to rubber banding, unless it is badly programmed. Alright, so the first race was a piece of cake, even on a reversed Seattle circuit, which is a difficult circuit, to be honest, because of those jumps and tricky corners. Alright, so the second race takes place at Tsukuba circuit, and I have 3 laps to pass through all opponents. This could be an interesting challenge also, because I'm driving an old muscle car, and the starting grid consists of 2 Nissans for ladies, Chrysler Crossfire, Honda 2000, and another Mercedes SL500. Ouch. That was a bad idea. Alright. Now I only have 1 opponent, and I'm done. Too fast. Luckily I still remember the basics of cornering from Gran Turismo 4 Prologue, and how this particular hairpin was an interesting test for knowing speed limits and speeding up on the outside of the corner. The popular out in out or something like that. One thing I also like about this particular game, Gran Turismo 4, and this is in my opinion, this would not be considered an Easter egg, because it all depends on the player's way of driving, but on various circuits you can actually perform the famous move. That means you can slow down through the corner and just keep not only steering efficiently, like not the full time because you're losing speed, you're just steering. I don't know how to actually describe it, but it's all about steering and throttle. Like you're pushing it, pulling, push, pull, all of that stuff. And this actually helps with getting speed, ironically, and also a proper steering, because you are steering your car but you're not losing speed because your tires are pointed at another direction. Pardon my French. I guess you would find out what I mean. That's a good way of driving also on rally tracks, because I've made some tests here and there. Soon I will pass those special condition or just rally events, and I think you will see how this works out on rally tracks and why Ayrton Senna's way of driving is beneficial. Also, I took care of this second race, an F4 challenge, and afforded again 1500 credits for this particular race. So it's time for another challenge. I mean, in this particular event, another circuit I have is Special Stage Road 5, 2 laps around this track. Later on I will have Laguna Seca and Motorland, but it's gonna come out soon. Right now I have an interesting set of opponents, because I have Nissan Silvia Case S13, which have only 200 horsepower, and I also have BMW 330i, which have, if I'm not mistaken, 260 horsepower. So yeah. As it is Special Stage Road 5, I need to watch out, because all those corners and hairpins would be much more difficult. Again, final lap, and also I could check out the top speed, somewhere around 240 kilometers per hour. Not so bad for a muscle car from the 70s, and it's a bit more than your average American muscle car, besides of Shelby Cobra, but it is still a British car, just American equivalent to it. But yeah, that's why I also like European muscle cars. Japanese muscle cars have somewhere around, for example, 150 horsepower, but they are lighter. And you have European muscle cars like Lamborghini Miura, Ferrari GTO. Well, let's be honest, AC cars 289 or even 427. However, this last one is equipped with, if I'm not mistaken, American engine, 7-liter V8. And those cars, European muscle cars, are much faster than European ones and have a bit better steering. Japanese muscle cars like Toyota 2000 GT and Nissan Fairlady Z 240Z are a bit slower, but they are lighter and have great acceleration. So yeah, that's how I also got through this particular event. Ironically, all three Nissans in this race particularly ended up on the last places, and my Jensen Interceptor was in the first place and got far away from all opponents. Great, I like it. So now I have only 2 races left on FR Challenge event. And this is 2 laps around Laguna Seca and 4 laps around Motorland, which is another driving park course, but Motorland is, despite being more of a go-kart track, actually an interesting one. It makes more sense than beginner's course for racing. So now I have Mazda Race with Laguna Seca. Ironically, the only Mazda in this race is RX-8. But I also have, what is interesting, Chrysler 300C, my favorite American car from 2005. My favorite mostly because I used it in Need for Speed Carbon sometimes, or Need for Speed Undercover. Also, it is an interesting car that I hope I would have a chance to check out if I don't forget to use it in at least one endurance event or something like that. Alright, so the best thing about this particular circuit is the fact that even if this Laguna Seca Raceway is a bit more difficult track, I can still drive fast on it. Sure, in Gran Turismo 4 this track got reconstructed because they simply used a real live edition of Laguna Seca instead of a bit easier arcade version like in Gran Turismo 3. perfect. I am driving fast enough, and I also can say that on Laguna Seca it's not that much difficult to make a mistake. However, as it is still effort challenge, this particular event is not such of a problem. However, when it comes to Jensen Interceptor on this particular track, it's a good thing I can learn some things about muscle cars, judging also by the fact that in Gran Turismo 3 there were almost no muscle cars actually. And also with those driving physics in GT4 it's completely different. So I guess for later events I might gain back some experience like those 5 or 10 years ago while I was making, I can't say playthroughs, I just won few races from time to time and got on with my day. The last race I have here is reversed edition of Motorland or Kajiva. Honestly, once I think I saw this particular track in real life, on one video I mean. It looked almost the same, so perhaps this driving park course exists in real life. It looked a bit similar to this edition of Motorland. Also, it's interesting because in this Korean version, this track was called Motorland. But in Japanese version of GT4, it's called Motor Sportsland 2, which is a bit of a hint to Gran Turismo 2, where we had a small go-kart track available only for time trials. Interesting, isn't it? Alright, I just need to catch up to this SLK 230. And the final lap. What I personally like about this Motorland circuit is the fact that it is a great track for basics of cornering, drifting, and also driving slow cars, because you can actually use underpowered car and try to learn how to drive on a proper line to not lose speed and then brake and steer accordingly to actually make a great lap time. It's a perfect test track actually. Much better than beginner's course, which is mostly about knowing cornering speed limits, like on circle courses in Gran Turismo 2, Gran Turismo 3 and Tourist Trophy. So, I passed all races from FR Challenge, afforded some more cash. Now it's time to afford a prize car. As I am the leader on each race, it's time to finally see what is the prize car for fighting so hard. And the prize car is kind of impressive, even if a bit slow, because this is a Nissan Skyline 2000 GTB edition S54A from the 60s. So, the good old days where Japanese cars were elegant. So the next event I have is a 4-wheel drive challenge and then MR challenge. Also unlocked Ice Arena snow course. So I need 4-wheel drive car. So the best option is to get either Honda Dual Note with a hybrid V6 engine or Nissan Skyline GTR. But I think that Honda Dual Note might be a better choice, and the Skyline GTR will be left for later events like Turbo Sports or Tuning Grand Prix, something like that. Right now I have Honda Dual Note, which is famous in Gran Turismo because this is a Japanese edition. There was an American edition called Acura DNX from 2002 because it was supposed to be available in GT Concept Tokyo Geneva, but later got available in GT4. This Dual Note edition have only white color, no chances of affording this red color special for Acura DNX. But I can acquire some good upgrades after changing oil. So let's buy a racing muffler and see how this Japanese edition of this concept car works. We can dispose of useless waste, so I guess the second seat and some other stuff. I know this is a concept car, but I don't care. Those were the days when we did not have Vision Gran Turismo and all those concept cars were actually upgradable, as I can call it. So, another challenge, another set of races. I have Grand Valley, I have Autonic Mini, Suzuka is still in my opinion, El Capitan and Fuji Speedway 90s. So, let's get it over with. 2 laps around Grand Valley. Grand Valley section, and for 4-wheel drive challenge we have, in my opinion, often a great set of cars like Hyundai Klecks, my favorite Subaru Impreza, Audi Quattro, Type 85, because you know, the 80s, this was a Quattro Coupe edition of popular back then Audi 80. I like those 4-wheel drive cars, honestly, because Subaru Impreza is an interesting car, not only for rally racing, but actually for casual road driving, thanks to its boxer engine. It is a very fast car. 250 kilometers per hour without any problems on Gran Valley East section. Surely this particular Honda Dual Note might as well have a modified engine prepared for Honda NSX, but Honda Dual Note also have, as it is a hybrid, if I'm not mistaken, an electrical engine that puts extra power. Maybe that's why Honda Dual Note have 400 horsepower instead of just 280. If you're asking me, I guess this is the reason that Honda Dual Note is much faster than Honda NSX or even Honda HSC, that I hope will be available for me later on for at least one endurance event, because I love those Honda concept cars. Okay, so this particular race was interesting. Audi Quattro got last place, is even worse than Ford RS200, which is also not the best road car, like its Group B edition, but whatever. I mean, we still have 4 races left, so there is a possibility to check this out. Right now I have 4 laps around on Touring Mini, so there is still a chance to check out those other cars. The reversed edition of On Touring Mini and 4 laps, so this particular race would be a bit more interesting, considering the fact that I have Dodge Ram 1500 Laramie Hemi, a modified edition of a casual Dodge Ram 1500, known from ramming into Karens. Just casual American joke. Alright, so I can easily pass through all opponents and see if this Laramie Hemi, despite being a heavy truck, can actually be fast enough to keep the place, not end the race on the last 6th place, 6th position. And the final lap. On Touring Mini is a great track also for learning the basics of cornering, possibly also drifting, and On Touring Mini is also a great choice if there could be a chance to check out, for example, go-karts, but those weren't available until GT5. But Pontoonic Pini is actually a great track to test slow key cars, go-karts and such. Would be interesting to actually have some original circuits from old Gran Turismo in real life. And as it turns out, Dodge Ram 1500 ended on third place. I got in first place and have 1500 credits. So it's time for another race, this time Suzuka Circuit. So, Suzuka Circuit, 3 laps. I'm not that good at Korean because I haven't played this Korean version for a long time, but you know, we have East course, 3 laps, and what is interesting, we even have Land Rover Range Stormer concept from 2004, my favorite vehicle, also one of the heaviest in the game. 2.5 of tons. So yeah, if I acquire Land Rover Range Stormer, I hope there is a chance to check it out at least in one event later on. Only 2 laps left. So there is still a possibility that I might make a huge mistake and opponents could at least try to overtake me. Alright, so I took care of another race. And interestingly, Land Rover Range Stormer got the last place because various reasons. I got first place again, 1500 credits. So now it's time for another challenge. This time I have reversed El Capitan, 2 laps around this track. Let's see how this works out. Now I have an interesting set of opponents, even Audi RS6. The car that have 400 horsepower is in beginner hole 4-wheel drive challenge. And I also have 4 different Audis and Volkswagen Golf 4th generation and also R32 edition. That's a good thing I acquired this Honda Dual Note, because thanks to this I can easily pass this particular race. Imagine having a beginner hole event in Gran Turismo where you have a car with, if I'm not mistaken, not only 450 horsepower but also weight power output set on 4, somewhere around 4. So you have a heavy sedan, 1700 kilograms of weight and 450 horsepower, and this is the driver in beginner hole. If there's one thing I don't like about Gran Turismo beside of rubber banding, but honestly I hate rubber banding in all games. Luckily Test Drive Unlimited, if I'm not mistaken, haven't even got rubber banding programmed. But yeah, in Gran Turismo 4 sometimes you have actually to have a bit more overpowered car, because you can be disappointed or a bit surprised how this works out. That is actually interesting right now. I thought that this particular race with Audi RS6 with over 400 horsepower would be a bit of a challenge, but it turns out that this car is not that much faster than Volkswagen Golf R32, and I'm wondering what is going on. That was a bad idea again. In some ways, El Capitan is a bit difficult track. You need to memorize it properly to drive fast enough. Interesting fact is that in GT Concept and early GT4 demos, you actually had a chance to see that El Capitan looked completely different, like a rally circuit. Not the same circuit as we have right now, because here you have, despite it being around Yosemite National Park area, the beta edition of Yosemite, El Capitan, looked a bit more realistic, but strange. This particular track was more universal, and it gave some satisfaction if you could win the race on this difficult track with undulating surfaces. So I have now only one race left, honestly. The last circuit is Fuji Speedway from the 90s, and in my opinion the best starting grid. Nissan Stagia, my favorite Volkswagen New Build RSI, Hyundai Klicks, Audi TT, Coupe, I prefer the 3.2 liter turbo quattro, but whatever, and also Subaru Impreza sedan from 2002. Not bad, not bad. So I have 2 laps around Fuji Speedway from the 90s. Ironically, this is my favorite edition because not only it is faster, but looks much better than 2005 edition, which is more suitable for Formula 1 and Japan GT, or rather Super GT nowadays. But the old edition of Fuji Speedway, despite being much more difficult in real life, was also in some ways much easier in video games, and also it was a faster circuit, so possibly safety reasons were actually studied while they thought in 2003, no, we need to renovate this circuit, and until 2005 it was closed. And then later on another Super GT was performed on new Fuji Speedway, which looked completely different on many sections. Let's see the top speed on this Fuji Speedway strafe section. $260, not bad. Not bad for such concept car. I like it. And also thanks to the fact that I acquired some tune-ups, I have 20 seconds of lead distance. That's just perfect. I'm only curious right now what would be the results of this race, because let's be honest, I have Nissan Stagia as an opponent, Volkswagen New Build RSI with, let's be honest, 3.2 V6 engine, almost the same as in Golf R32. And also I have Subaru Impreza with boxer engine. And I got through the whole event, F4 challenge, FF challenge and 4-wheel drive challenge. Now I only have midship engines, MR challenge. So I got another 1500. So it's time, finally, to check the price car I can afford in this particular event. The price car is Toyota Motor Triathlon race car from 2004. Interesting concept car, even if not useful in GT mode, might be a good thing to check out in arcade mode. Alright, so now I have only MR Challenge left. So, let's see what can I do about it. Because MR Challenge consists of driving a car with midship engine, and that actually means I need to get a proper car for myself. So let's check out, for example, if I can afford Opel Speedster or Speedster Turbo for a reasonable price, that is. Nope. Almost 50,000 credits. Screw that. I might as well take my chances with Dom Zero. Honestly, this concept car from late 70s is an interesting one, because it was available in GT Concept, despite being not in 2002 Motor Show, but it is a car from 78, and what's interesting is that it looks a bit like Lancia Stratos Zero Edition, just the Japanese edition. So I guess thanks to this car we can go back to the future and just drive fast enough to win this MR challenge. So let's buy a decent set of upgrades. Obviously racing chip, because it not only gives power but you know, the fuel efficiency, all of that stuff. It helps a lot. Nitrous, just to be sure nothing bad comes out. Triple plate clutch, because I'm cautious. I need to afford as many upgrades as I can for this particular car. And one very important thing, stage 1 weighs only 920 kilograms, so no. Let's buy a racing flywheel. That could help me a bit with this car. It's light enough. So racing brakes, possibly a few suspension upgrades would be beneficial, but no. I think that's enough. I might check out if this works out, honestly. So, beginner hall. MR challenge, 5 races. Now we can afford also 2,000 credits for each race. And the first race is 5 laps around beginner course. Then Auto Ring, New York, Fuji Speedway, and again El Capitan. Because why not? Honestly, I don't bother myself too much with it, because 5 laps around beginner course and we have a nice set of opponents. No Honda NSX yet, but we have Autobox, Sports Lab, Gareya, and few Lotuses. So this is a proper beginner haul for you. In the meantime, I also tuned up my nitrous for more power output. So let's take the chance. 5 laps around beginner's course. What could possibly go wrong? Alright, I need to find the proper line for overtaking. Or cut this corner and drive like a maniac. So, like I often do. I can also make full use of nitros. Thanks to this, I now have first place, and all I need to do is keep this first place for those 4 laps, and I'm golden. Alright, so this first race is over. 5 laps around beginner's course. Who would have thought that is a good idea? But I got it over with. Now I have 4 races, 2 laps each, on proper race circuits. So, let's check it out. I also need to check out if there is a possibility of having Honda NSX as starting grid, because I have yet Autoring, New York, Fuji Speedway from the 90s, and El Capitan at the end. So let's see. Not only I have 2 Honda NSX, but also Renault Clio Sport with V6 engine. That's just perfect. So this particular race would be a pain in the ass for me, because I decided to not spend too much money on a new car like Honda NSX or Opel Speedster Turbo, but instead I tuned up this concept car, Dome Zero. That's perfect. I'm driving fast enough. There's a possibility that opponents could pass me, overtake me, but it's out of question right now, because luckily I have a good knowledge of those tricky sections on Autoring, which actually helps me a lot. So I can make use of all of this actually. I still have first place, final lap begins. I have 6 seconds of lead distance. There's Toyota MR2, Honda NSX, and Renault Sport Clio V6. Interesting. I really like this. Even Lotus Elise is not that far out from anybody else, so that's a good thing. Perfect. And the results are interesting. And NS6 Type S0 got 3rd place. On NS6 Type R got last place. And I afforded again 2000 credits, which is beneficial because I would have just enough money for later events. Spider and Roadsters, all of that stuff. So, race number 3 takes place on New York. So I have yet New York, Fuji Speedway from the 90s, and El Capitan. New York's street circuit would be a bit difficult, so it's a good chance to check out those driving physics on this particular circuit. Reversed version of New York Street Circuit. Behind the wheel of Dome Zero. With Los Angeles, Honda NSX, and there's also Lotus Esprit, Renault Sport Clio V6. Just perfect. I like it. Piece of cake again, and that's a good thing because it helps a lot. Those difficult 90-degree corners are the great chance for me to perform better during those races, actually, because the best thing is just the fact that I can drive fast enough without any problems. I can run away from my opponents while they are, they are very cautious on those 90-degree corners. So that's the best thing about New York Street Circuit in Gran Turismo 4. And it's done. Only 2 races left. That's just perfect. Because it looks like on New York Street Circuit, the artificial intelligence is not advanced. That helped me a lot. So now it's time for Fuji Speedway, the 90s edition. So again, 2 laps around this particular track. The only problem I might have later on is how to drive through El Capitan in this lightweight car. Because Fuji Speedway 90s is an easy track for those cars. but El Capitan with undulating surface and elevation changes. That would be interesting show. Easy overtaking. And final lap. Again. Alright, so another race is almost done. And I can say that Dom Zero is actually a very fast car with those upgrades. 270 kilometers per hour of top speed, and I run so far away from my opponent there is no chance that they could catch up to the finish line through those 15 seconds after the race. So now I have only one final race left in this episode, and that is El Capitan. So let's get there. Two laps around El Capitan. Normal direction. That's perfect. And this is the last race in this episode. That means I hope that the opponents would be faster. Well, we have Honda NSX. We even have Opel Speedster, ASL Gareya, and beside of that, the obvious Lotus LS Type 72. That means the concept with starlight black color, and also obviously Toyota MR2 GTS. And there's me, behind the wheel of Dom Zero concept from 1978. so this particular track right now is not that much difficult. However, I feel that elevation changes have at least some effect on my lightweight concept car. So it helps me a lot that this car on this particular circuit is much faster than my opponents, because this is actually a good thing considering how fast I can run away from my opponents, and if I make a mistake of spinning out, I can still take the first place back. At least I can try. So soon the final lap will begin. Let's see how fast I can drive on this particular track. 240 without nitrous. That's interesting. Alright, so now I can finally say that this episode is almost over. I took care of all races in Sunday Cup and all drivetrain events, ranging from front-wheel drive to midship engine. That's just great. And what is interesting, I acquired some good price cars that could be useful in arcade mode, like MTRC, but the rest of the price cars might actually have a chance to be used in various events like classic cars and such. So the final price car in this episode is Black Lotus Esprit Turbo from the 80s. Interesting. And that is also the end of this video and this episode. So in the next episode I will take care of all those K-Car Cups, K-Car Cup, Spider Roadsters and Sports Trucks race. So stay tuned for the next video and have a nice day. I'm out.